Stretching for over 500 miles from Denver to Durango, across 8 mountain ranges, the Colorado Trail was a lifelong dream of Goody Gaskell, an educator, downhill skier, and lifelong outdoor enthusiast. She believed building a trail that provided easy access to remote wilderness would build public respect for that wilderness. Inspired by the Appalachian Trail, she proposed the original concept in 1974 to an all-male board of strict preservationists from the Forest Service. They didn't initially believe in the trail and were under the impression that it would only worsen the problem of trash in the wilderness. Despite the pushback, Gaskell kept pursuing the project by founding Colorado Mountain Trails Foundation later that year. She would go on to lead the majority of the all-volunteer trail crews responsible for constructing the trail. She was known for getting up before the sunrise to make breakfast for the crew members. The trail took 2 decades to build and wasn't fully marked out until 2000. Today, hundreds of backpackers and bikepackers travel this route every year. The trail is well maintained and well marked. The Colorado Trail has also attracted tourists from all over the country, and thus has built a nationwide respect for the Colorado wilderness. Gaskell's hope was that this respect would discourage people from being careless when out in the wilderness. She believed that the people working on the trail would feel a greater desire to protect it. Not only was Gaskell building a trail, she was also building a passionate community of conservationists.
You know, in our crew, at least, there was like 6-year-olds to 76-year-olds working side by side and camping together and supporting each other in the rain. It was a labor of love.
In the early 1960s, the trails of Colorado were littered with trash and the remnants of mining operations. This was because the people of Colorado had very little respect for the wilderness and treated it as a playground. In 1973, Goody Gaskell and Bill Lucas developed the concept for the trail. They dreamed it would provide Coloradoans with continuous access to remote wilderness, and thus would help people understand the beauty and value of the outdoors. The project struggled to gain momentum, but Gaskell persisted.
I get to the point where I think, how am I going to succumb to this private property? How can we possibly get around it? How can you talk this man into say that he doesn't have a valuable piece of mining claim just because we're asking about this mining claim?
In addition to their pre-standing oppositions to the trail, the officials at the Forest Service believed that a 500-mile trail was far too difficult for an average Colorado citizen. This opinion became yet another roadblock for Gaskell and her crew. After years of stagnance and financial complications, construction began. The initial plan was to finish the trail by the fall of 1976, 2 years after it began. Due to the lack of financing the project received, the trail had to be constructed entirely by volunteers, and predictably, these 2 years turned into 2 decades, but the trail was constructed nonetheless.
I think it's important that she finished when they did, though, because you see this with any sort of great project that's built nowadays. They always seem to take longer, they go over budget, there's more legal challenges, and so it's harder for us as a society to build important things like that than it was from the 70s to the 90s. So I think it was key that she finished it when she did. And the part about building the tourism industry allowed Colorado to grow as a state. And it's bringing people in, brings in lots of money, and really has put Colorado on the map in flyover country in the U.S.
I think the Colorado Trail itself was a turning point in Colorado history.
So I think the trail really came about, starting in the 70s. You started to see her involvement with it. And it was at a time period where you see, for example, the ski industry developing in Colorado. And so after World War II, Colorado was going from this largely agricultural state to one that was developing a tourism industry. And so I think it was fitting with that time, that movement. And she was working to build the trail with thousands of volunteers over about 20 years.
The Colorado Trail changed the course of Colorado history for several reasons. Firstly, the sheer size of the project was practically unheard of, aside from things like the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail. As mentioned before, it is key that the Colorado Trail was finished when it was. Due to financial and legal complications, it is nearly impossible to build these sort of projects today. The trail was also revolutionary because it was built entirely by volunteers. This required an immense amount of cooperation from the crew members, as they were doing the work simply out of the goodness of their hearts. Another thing worth mentioning is that this entire project was taking place in the middle of the women's liberation movement. While Gaskill might not have realized this at the time, she had a huge impact on the way the world sees women and the persistence they are capable of. In the last few years of the trail's construction, she began to gain recognition for her perseverance and would go on to inspire countless other women.
I remember very specifically the invitation when my uncle actually called and said, like, hey, I have a big question for you. I want to know if you want to be a part of this thing. Yeah, I definitely remember feeling like it was a big deal. It was a really big deal to be out there and to be invited to be a part of this. I remember getting a certificate and a patch, and even at 10 years old, I just knew that I was a part of something.
We don't have a good record of how many people complete the trail every year. The one thing I've tried now for 3 years, I have to tell you, is to get a monument on one end of the trail and one on the other end, which shows the beginning and the terminus, and the beginning over here and terminus there, so that when you finish, you can take a picture to show I'm leaning up against the finish. I finished it. One lady that finished it, she just sat on the side of grass and she held up a little sign that says, Colorado Trail, done it. So the next executive board meeting, she just sent that. I'm going to bring that to them and just say, we've got to get those monuments in, something, anything, even a bench would do. So.
This hasn't always been there. Like, as a person is walking that trail, I think it's something that I don't often think about, but someone built that. Someone went deep into the woods when there was no trail there and sort of created this experience for others to follow on in time. And, nature is our medicine. Like, it's where we go to remember who we are.
Yeah. It also makes you appreciate America to realize we have such beauty right here without having to go a long ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep in mind the hands and the feet that built this and the people who were drenched in rain but also in love for the outdoors and the opportunity to make this way for others to travel.
What I will always remember about being on the Colorado Trail is the fog, hanging low on the mountains as if the mountains were wearing puffy white sweaters, just the blue of their tops peeking out on the horizon, or maybe a gray granite spire or two.
I could listen to the wind in my ears and the singing of the birds without any other human presence. It was one of the most peaceful things I've ever experienced.
Without the remarkable persistence of Gudi Gaskill, this project would have never left the ground, and the trail would have been lost in history. Even after completing the trail, Gaskill did not celebrate her impact, but instead focused on spreading the word of the trail to the wider public so more people could enjoy what she had created.